I can still remember the first time I heard about Mr. Smile. It was early November of 1997, and I was working as a child psychologist in a small town in Maine. My days were spent trying to help children navigate the challenges of their lives, and like most professionals in my field, I often encountered stories of imaginary friends. But this was different. It began with one of my regular patients, a boy who was battling severe anger and depression. During one of our sessions, he started talking about a friend of his. He called him Mr. Smile. At first, I thought nothing of it. Imaginary friends are common for children, especially those experiencing trauma or emotional turmoil. But as the boy continued, I felt an odd chill creep down my spine. He described Mr. Smile as always smiling, always silent. When Mr. Smile was near, the boy said he felt calm, safe, and, most strangely, happy. This was a stark contrast to his usual demeanor. He mentioned that Mr. Smile smelled like candy floss and would simply stand at the foot of his bed at night. I nodded along, taking notes, and assumed it was a coping mechanism. But then another child mentioned Mr. Smile, and then another. A girl, about 9 years old, spoke of him with the same reverence and fear. She described his silent presence, his constant smile, and that peculiar smell of candy floss. Soon, a boy of 7, a girl of 11, a boy of 12. By the end of that month, I had heard about Mr. Smile from 15 different patients. Each child used the exact same words to describe him. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I started to ask questions, digging deeper into who or what Mr. Smile was. The more I asked, the more disturbed I became. The children claimed he didn't speak, but they always knew what he wanted. He made them feel safe, but something about their descriptions felt wrong. The kind of wrong that made my skin crawl. I reached out to their parents, treading carefully. I explained that multiple children had described the same figure and that I believed it could be a risk to their safety. Thankfully, the parents were cooperative and agreed to involve the authorities. When the police interviewed the children, they all gave identical descriptions. Mr. Smile stood at the foot of their beds, smiling, silent, and yet comforting. They couldn't describe his face or his body beyond the smile. When asked to draw him, they all did the same thing. They took a red crayon and filled the entire page with solid red. When I saw those drawings, my stomach turned. Each child insisted it was a perfect likeness of Mr. Smile. To them, the red rectangle was him. The police dismissed it as a bizarre coincidence or a mass delusion, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something far darker was at play. Cameras and baby monitors were set up in the children's rooms. For days, the parents and police watched the footage, desperate for answers. But the recording showed nothing. No strange figures, no unexplained noises. Just children sleeping, or sometimes sitting upright, staring at the wall. Then the disappearances began. The first boy vanished in the dead of night. His camera cut out at 2 a.m., and his mother, who had been watching the monitor, rushed to his room. He was gone. There were no signs of forced entry, no footprints, no sound. Just an empty bed, and the faint smell of cotton candy lingering in the air. One by one, the children disappeared. A girl, then another boy, then another. Each time, the circumstances were the same. No trace, no evidence, just a lingering sweetness in the air. The remaining children began to talk about the happy place, a place where Mr. Smile lived with others like him. They said he spoke to them in their heads now, showing them pictures of the place he would take them. Their behavior grew more erratic. They stopped sleeping, sitting motionless in their beds with wide, unblinking eyes. One girl began carving strange symbols into her skin. 2 boys spoke in a language no one could identify. The children were deteriorating, unraveling before our eyes. And then they were gone. By early 1999, all of the children who had spoken of Mr. Smile had vanished. 15 children, gone without a trace. No suspects, no leads, nothing. To this day, I can't explain what happened. Was Mr. Smile real, a figment of their imaginations, some collective hallucination, or something worse? I'll never know. But sometimes late at night I think I catch a whiff of cotton candy in the air, and I wonder, is he still out there, smiling in the dark?